Good evening and welcome, UIW football fans. This is the UIW Coaches Show with head coach Clint Killow, sponsored by Sliver Eagle Beverages, live on YouTube and here, hosted by our partners here at the Winchester Pub. I'm Sam Kamen alongside our head coach Clint Killow, and there's plenty to talk about after a 55-10 win. There's lots of excitement, lots of enthusiasm coming off another big win, and I know we talked to you post-game, but now you've got 3 days to review that tape.
Yeah.
What kind of strikes you in that dominating performance that you guys had?
Yeah, I mean, I really had 24 hours to review it and then kind of move on. This is a what have you done for me lately business.
Yeah.
So really haven't thought about Nichols probably since this past Sunday. But you know, I mean, the guys played. They came out and they did what we've talked about them doing for the past few weeks in terms of playing fast, getting started fast, and then playing 4 quarters of football. So you could kind of feel the energy and the focus in the pregame warm up and stuff, and they performed. They didn't surprise me. They performed like I think that they can perform on a week-to-week basis. The difficult part is just being able to do that consistently week in and week out. So that's what our aim is this week.
Right. You mentioned it. It was kind of that revenge type of game.
Yeah.
It was an emotional win. I mean, talking to you and Mr. and Zach that came into the post game, you could kind of feel this like a weight got lifted off your
Yeah.
shoulder after a tough loss last year, the only loss in Southland play. Describe what those emotions were like after that win in the locker room, because it was not just a win, a close win that people thought it might be. It was a kind of thrashing.
Yeah, and I don't know if revenge is the correct word. I'd probably utilize redemption. You know what I mean? Just
That's a
because,
better word.
you know, for about 365 days, we felt like we let one slip away last year in terms of our execution and the things that we were in control of. So a little bit of redemption just in terms of like, hey, we got a second chance to operate and do what we do and control our controllables, and just make the decision up in our own head that, hey, this is how this thing's going to go. And at the end of the day, that we have a group of people in a building that are talented enough and work hard enough to control the narrative, and that's exactly what we did. So the locker room after a win is I wouldn't say it was any different last week. Anytime that you're able to win a football game, which is it's hard to win college football games at any level, in any game against any team. So the locker room was just like it is after any win. Just a lot of love, you know, and those moments in a locker room after a win they stay with you for a long time.
Right. Obviously, 24-hour rule, and then now you're back on to McNeese. But going back to what you said, you emphasize fast starts, complete games, and playing for all 4 quarters. We'll start with the fast start. Get out to a big lead. Nichols takes the ball first, and I feel like that drive, they score a field goal, but after going for it on 4th down a couple times, and then you stop them, and they're 4th and 2 or 3, and they decide to kick the field goal. Y'all take the ball, go down, score, and then the very next play was a fumble return for a touchdown by Lloyd Johnson. I feel like that set the tone.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even necessarily the defensive touchdown. It was the stop on the first drive.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, a little bit surprised just because, you know, they moved the ball pretty well. They ran the football well on that opening drive. They converted 2 4th downs. I was surprised that they didn't go for it a third time. I didn't really know the justification behind that. One day I'll ask Tim about it. I know I probably would have rolled the dice just again. Just made a long field even if you don't get it. But they didn't. Our defense was, you know, a bend, don't break type of mentality in that situation. Came down, scored a touchdown to Lontrell Turner. Had the big the fumble recovery for a touchdown, which was huge. The ensuing drive, though, Zach fumbled, picked up the first down, had a tough run, and then just one of those things where, you know, he's got to have better ball security, especially around defensive linemen and in a pile up. And, you know, if he's going to be an effective runner for us, that's something that he has to make sure that he does in terms of ball security. And then they scored a touchdown. And then after that, I think, is when the ball really started getting rolling. I think we threw a touchdown to Jackson Lowe, and then things started going. So momentum was big, and once it got on our side, we kind of kept it.
Right. You mentioned that fumble that led to the only touchdown surrendered to the Colonels. Do you feel like that was the drive after where you get the ball right back, and instead of maybe Nichols getting to stop and
Yeah.
reclaiming the lead
Yeah.
or kind of going back and forth, that was where y'all felt like a turning point, because that's you respond right back with
Yeah.
the touchdown, and then obviously the rest is history, 41 unanswered.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it and you look back to 2023, it's pretty similar to last year because we jumped out to an early lead. We were up 10-0 at the end of the first in 2023, and then we had a bad interception. Zach threw an interception on a mesh concept in the backed up area, and then they had like a 1 or 2 play drive that scored a touchdown that was extremely similar to the fumble. So I think that you can just tell the difference in this football team from last year to this year in terms of how we respond to something negative happen. And we talked a little bit about resilience in our team meeting on Friday night. I have a team meeting where it's just me and all the guys, no coaches, nobody else. It's just me and my team. And we talked about resilience because we knew they were a talented football team, and some things were going to go their way, and just in terms of how we responded to those things.
Right. The resiliency, you can see it on the defensive end too. We give up a touchdown, but we don't let them score. In fact, the defense outscored Nichols the entire game with another interception for a touchdown. Second defensive touchdown, this time by Dune Smith later in the game. Anytime you can have a defensive touchdown, you're going to take those points, but not very often your defense outscores the other team.
Yeah, we're good on the defensive side of the football. I know the first couple of weeks, people had some question marks and we were banged up a little bit. But I've said it a ton of times. Jim Gush is as good as it gets in college football. He has 40 years of experience, longer than I've been alive on this planet or any of my position coaches. So I trust Jim Gush with all my heart. I know those players do. I firmly believe we have one of the best defenses in the country, and they're going to continue to prove it.
What allows y'all to not just turn turnovers into points, but on the same play? Because last year y'all were top 5 in the FCS for defensive touchdowns, have 2 this game, and it's a large reason why you're able to keep the momentum on your side from the defense feeding the offense and vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many factors in that. I think what it boils down to is doing your job, doing it with fundamentals, and doing it with pride. I mean, if you can do your job and you do it with fundamentally sound technique, and you do it with a chip on your shoulder and with some pride in what you do and who you're doing it for, good things tend to happen.
Talking about some of the accolades that came after the week, Zach Calzada, Offensive Player of the Week in the Southland, Dude Smith, who we mentioned earlier, Defensive Player of the Week in the Southland. I'll start with Zach. Read his stat line off: 25 for 33, 270 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. But he spread the wealth out. And it wasn't just to Jalen Waltall. He had the wheel route to Lontrell Turner. He had Jackson Lowe, who caught 2, one from Josh Lorick, Logan Compton, getting those tight ends involved. What does it say about the depth, not just at the wide receiver position, running back, but even getting those tight ends involved and into the end zone?
Yeah, I mean, we did a tremendous job in the offseason. My staff worked their tails off to recruit good football players that fit our system and fit our culture, not just as a football program, but as a university. Those guys are tremendous. And when you put them around a guy like Zach Calzada, who can really make every throw in the book, and that's never really been in question. But then you counteract that with the fact that right now he's operating at a really high level, and we've put a tremendous emphasis, especially in the offseason, in terms of him operating at a high level. No one questioned his arm talent. No one questioned his playmaking ability. But just his ability to consistently operate. That's why we say things like spreading the wealth. You don't go out there as a quarterback and say, hey, I'm just going to throw it to this guy on this play, this guy on this play, and I'm just going to make it look like I'm showing everybody love. I mean, he's going through his reads. He's making his progressions. He's making good decisions. I'm confident that he's going to continue to do that.
Were you surprised that Jalen Waltall's catch, his first one, where he mossed the guy and then ended up running for big long touchdown was not on Randy Moss's You Got Moss segment. It was a top play, but just not on that segment.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to compare and contrast those to the other You Got Mossed plays that made it, but it doesn't surprise me. He's a heck of a football player.
Well, and then he did it the very next touchdown going one-handed. Which one did you like better of those two? Because we got your celebration with Jackson doing the money sign, but you were pretty pumped.
I don't know if I should be proud of that or not.
You were pretty pumped with Waltall's left-handed catch as well.
Yeah, I don't think I like one better than the other. I think I like 6 points, and they both produce 6 points, so I'm good with that. But yeah, I mean, I probably shouldn't celebrate, but man, I've just see those guys work so hard for so long when no one else is watching, and I'm just proud of them. I'm happy for them when they have success, and maybe I might need to do a little bit better job of controlling that, but I think they get a kick out of it, so maybe I'll just keep doing it.
We might have to see what Jim Gush's reaction was to Dune Smith's interception return for a touchdown.
Yeah.
But he had 10 tackles as well in his performance, going alongside with Mr. who's double-digit tackles, Tylen Foster. Is this the most complete linebacker crew that y'all have had in recent memory?
Yeah, I would say so. Definitely most complete. We've had some really good linebacker play. You talk about Kalechi and Ilabechi and Isaiah Paul and guys like that. We've had some tremendous linebackers. But I would say from a complete standpoint, yes. And it was an emphasis this offseason. And you know, we're talking about Nichols. Last year that was a big deal, you know, because in the first half, both our starting Mike and our starting Will, Tylen Foster and Mr. went down with injury, and we got in a situation where guys might not have been as prepared as those guys. So we made it a point in the offseason to go find guys that could fill those roles. Dune was one of them. And Dune has a ton of versatility in terms of being able to play the Sam linebacker and the Will and kind of our Mike and our dime buck sets. But all those guys are tremendous. You talk about guys like Darius Sanders, and Mr. Williams is a bona fide leader on that side of the ball. Tylen Foster has been tremendous, who's a heck of a football player, and a number of guys, you know. So.
And we saw all the depth there because not just offensively, but defensively, y'all won the line of scrimmage and y'all dominated it. A year ago, Colonels ran for over 300 yards. This time, you keep Colin Guggenheim and Jalen Spears combined as a team both of those guys combined under 100 yards. Total rushing for Nichols was 123, 200 less yards than a year ago. Just speak to the physicality that your guys have played with, not just in that game, but we saw it when y'all went to South Dakota State and Southern Illinois. Even those games did not go your way.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason for scheduling those games. Is that's what those teams do in the Missouri Valley is they run the football and they stop the run and they play a physical brand of football, and that was part of the reasoning behind that. You know, and then in the offseason, again, we went and got guys that we felt like could give us an edge and give us that dominant factor in the trenches. Guys like Travion Newsom, guys like Mason Williams, Nolan Hay, you know, and then you bring back guys like Rasheed Jackson, Caleb Flores, Jaden Borjas. I mean, that's when you start playing. So really proud of to get the boys up front, man. I absolutely got a kick out of watching the tape, watching those guys play with excitement. And I mean, you watch Travion Newsom pull around the corner and put a guy on his backside. It gets you going a little bit.
Lots of cohesion on that group, and lots more to come here on the UIW Coaches Show here from the Winchester Pubs, sponsored by Sliver Eagle Beverages.
As the lead college recruiting manager at AT&T's global headquarters, I had the unique privilege of being the first connection for students beginning their professional journeys. My own education was enriched by professors who were industry experts with real-world experience. And now, I take pride in helping the next generation of leaders navigate the opportunities in store for them after college.
My name is Nick, and my journey began in San Antonio, Texas at the University of the Incarnate Word.
Back here for the UIW Coaches Show, here with head coach Clint Killow, and our sponsor is La Las Palapas Mexican restaurants. They've been serving award-winning tacos and the finest margaritas since 1981, and they're a proud partner of UIW Athletics. Las Palapas, located on 1208 Austin Highway, is offering their special UIW menu with great deals every Thursday starting at 5 p.m. Check out all they have to offer at laspalapas.com. Here, Sam Kamen, he's Clint Killo, and now we get to move, even though you've moved on to McNeese, we finally get to move on to them. 4-3 record for the Cowboys, 1-1 in Southland play. You've spent a lot of time diving into their film. What do you see that poses some threats for you and the boys on Saturday?
Yeah, really good football team. They play with an edge. They got some really talented players on the perimeter, at the receiver position, at the defensive back position, especially. They got some pretty good corners that are good in man coverage, which is always a luxury to have. They got a couple linebackers that are experienced, that have played a lot of snaps. And all this is being said, we're expecting them to be fully healthy, which they've been banged up over the past few weeks, which every team in college football has. But good football team. They got a good running back. I think the Barbie kid is a really good player. They can run the football. The quarterback is dynamic. Can do it with his legs, can do it with his arms. They got some wideouts that are really special. So, and they've added some good offensive linemen. So they're a really quality football team.
Right. You mentioned kind of their quarterback, Clifton McDowell, a transfer from Montana, who's obviously up there in the FCS rankings, and did not play a lot in their last game, injuring his finger. But as you said, you expect him to be a full go.
Yeah, we're going into it expecting them to be fully healthy across the board. We'll be prepared for all their guys to get off the bus and play a football game.
Got to prepare for everyone, and it makes sense. They looking at what they've done this year, and it seems like it's one of those parity type of years. They win versus SFA. They beat a ranked Weber State. They played Tarleton State, who's to a 3-point loss, who was up there in the rankings, but their last game against HCU, they fall to the Huskies, and they give up 414 yards on the ground, 622 total yards. Is that kind of I know we've been more of an air raid, kind of spread offense type of mentality, but it seems like with Coach Connor McQueen calling plays with you, there's an emphasis on establishing that run. Is that kind of
Yeah. I mean, we want to be a complete offense. We got to be able to run the football. You got to be able to throw the ball. I mean, it's an unsung rule in college football that you got to be able to run the football, and you got to be able to stop the run. So we're going to be a complete offense, and we're going to be a complete defense.
You can't play 8 in the box, being ready for their rushing attack.
You got to be able to do both. That's for sure. And the other thing, and we talk about kind of the ebbs and flows of their schedule and how their season has gone. And I think that's just college football right now. To be totally honest with you, with how much roster turnover there is, it's week to week. You can't sit there and compare and contrast how they play against this team or that team, or how they're going to play against you. I mean, you'll sit there and spin around in circles all day long. It's a week-to-week thing, and Nick Saban talked about that. We watched an interview with Nick Saban this past Sunday with the team, about a 2-minute interview, and he just kind of talks about the letdown that teams have in college football right now after a big win, and it's just kind of letting that complacency and the arrogance creep into your locker room. And I wanted to make sure that we addressed that right off the rip, and didn't let it get into our building. So that's the fight in college football right now, and just with 18 to 22-year-old young guys, we've all been there. That's just what it is.
And it makes sense too, because McNeese has got an extra week to prepare for y'all coming off a bye week.
No doubt.
Obviously, that's got to be a pro advantage for them getting 2 weeks against y'all.
Yeah, it could be a pro or a con. It's just how do you handle it, and I don't know how they're operating. I know Gary Goff's a great coach, and he's going to have those guys ready to play. He's going to have them juiced up. He's going to have them excited. I mean, they had us 24-7 at halftime last year. So we've talked about getting out the gates early and executing, because they're a really good football team, and they're coming here to win a football game. And if we don't execute and we don't control our controllables, then the final score won't be in our favor, period.
Right, and you kind of mentioned that is the parity for y'all. I mean, even last year, trying to go for a three-peat, you felt like your target was always on your back. You
Yeah.
still feel that way.
Yeah.
How do you make sure you don't have that letdown or don't fall into that complacency?
Identify it, put it out there, communicate about it, talk about it. Again, we on Sunday we talked about complacency, we talked about arrogance, we talked about those being the things that would stop us from achieving the goals that we've set out to achieve. You know, and I think your intention, I think your focus, in Monday evening meetings, Tuesday morning walkthroughs, Tuesday practice, Wednesday practice, Thursday walkthrough, Friday Fast Friday. Those things, they all carry over into the game. How you prepare is how you're going to play on Saturday, and I'm a firm believer in that. And if you take a second off because you want to be a little bit complacent or you want to be a little bit arrogant, it usually bites you in the rear end.
So you do you have a set thing of not making sure, like you've got the word is rat poison.
Yeah.
That gets thrown out a lot, and we've seen a bunch of coaches, even for me being an A&M grad, seeing one of the coaches putting a blanket in on one of their wide receivers.
Yeah, I saw that.
What is there anything that keeps kind of the players motivated as well as making sure, hey, stay away from these articles or those podcasts?
Yeah, I mean, our pillars, our cultural pillars, are winning with intention. You know, detail, effort, love, and trust, and we lean on those things. That's who we are. So you don't have to recreate it or fabricate it. Like last week, they asked me how much I talked about the 2023 loss to Nichols and everything like that. I mean, we didn't have to talk about it. It went without being said. We were all there and we all experienced it. We all believe in the culture of winning with intention. So there's not a whole ton of conversation. I think just to carry over from what I said about, we watched that Nick Saban interview. But one thing that I liked from him, if you want me to pick a slogan, is that you're entitled to nothing. And he goes on his rant about talking about the power of nothing. And when you wake up, you're entitled to nothing. And I think that that holds true not just in football but in life. So,
Yeah. I got one more question about this team because they've played very well. They were playing well enough to get ranked earlier in the year. First time they've been ranked in since 2018. So when you boil this game down to a couple keys, what's going to be the deciding factors when the Cardinals face the Cowboys?
yeah, how we perform in the trenches on the offensive and defensive line, how well we take care of the football, how well we create turnovers, and then how well we execute.
It's really just that simple turnover battle.
Yeah,
line
I
of
mean, there's
scrimmage.
you can make the complex have some simplicity with your words at times. So yeah, that's as simple as I can make it because we could be here all night probably.
You really live by the KISS motto, don't you? All right. Well, we'll keep it simple here at the Winchester Pub. We'll come back for one final segment after this break.
As a lead college recruiting manager at AT&T's global headquarters, I had the unique privilege of being the first connection for students beginning their professional journeys. My own education was enriched by professors who were industry experts with real-world experience. And now, I take pride in helping the next generation of leaders navigate the opportunities in store for them after college.
My name is Nick, and my journey began in San Antonio, Texas at the University of the Incarnate Word.
One final segment here on the UIW Coaches Show, sponsored by Sliver Eagle Beverages, live on YouTube and here at the Winchester Pub. We have one more sponsor to thank, and that is Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's is the proud sponsor of UIW Athletics. Fuel your fresh with delicious subs from Jersey Mike's Subs at 999 East Bassey Road. And we got a new helmet. We got some new uniforms coming to Benson Stadium this weekend. What's kind of the inspo behind this new Cardinal look?
If you want me to be honest with you, Monday I was just walking through the equipment room and was like, what if you put those black face masks on that helmet? And next thing you know, we got a different looking helmet.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was. I take a little bit of break from the film, and I just walked in. I was like, hey, what do you think about that? And Diego Martinez does a great job. He's a UIW grad. He does a great job with our equipment. So he's going to have a little bit of a helmet party tomorrow and transform all of our white helmets.
It wasn't a captain saying, hey, we need to try these. It was just
a random thought from Coach Killo that I throw out there every now and then. I probably put a little bit of work, a little bit extra work on Diego's plate, but he's a trooper. He's a rock star. So
it fits.
good.
It fits the polo I'm wearing. I wish I could try and put it on. I don't think it'll fit with this headset.
Yeah.
But
create a little bit of excitement where you can. Just a little bit something different, a little bit of spark. So
hey, we like new uniform combos every time we can get it.
They're free. So
exactly. Last thing I want to touch on. It's way too early for y'all at least because you're only one game in. You're going to take one game at a time. But looking at the conference standings, Southeastern 2-0, y'all are 1-0, SFA 2-1, and then again a lot of teams at 1-1. We talked about kind of the parity, not just FBS, FCS, lots of close games. You've even mentioned it. You feel like the Southland Conference is deeper, and it shows with SFA, McNeese, Lamar, Southeastern all receiving votes in those polls. Why has that been kind of the way it is this year, and it's provided a lot more competition?
Yeah, and I talked a little bit earlier about just every week being different. I mean, every year is different, and the Southland Conference has been around for a long time, and it's been a quality conference for a long time. I think my first season back in 2018, I think it was a 4-bid league in the playoffs. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me because I've been around the conference for so long just as a player and a coach. But I'm happy to see it. I'm proud to coach in this conference. I'm proud to have played in this conference. There's a ton of really good coaches, really good players. I don't know the non-conference record, but I'm assuming it's extremely improved from last year, which is all we needed to do. And football's a funny game. It's so much like life. That ball is shaped funny, so it bounces a little bit funny sometimes.
Right.
But it doesn't surprise me. We got a really good football league, and there's a lot of football left to be played, and there's going to be some tough battles to go.
You mentioned kind of the non-conference, and you'll definitely scheduled a lot tougher.
Yeah.
Was there kind of more talks of like, hey, we need during that off season with athletic director Richard Duran, or are some of those conversations and opponents already scheduled way out?
Yeah,
in the
you're
future?
talking just scheduling for this year.
Scheduling.
Yeah, everything was set. The Southern Illinois game was the back end of our home and home that we played in 2022, so we had to go up there. The only open week that we had was the week we played South Dakota State. We were originally slated to play Rice. I think something happened contractually, and really Richard Duran kind of left it up to me. Hey, what do you think here? And in the open week, I chose to schedule South Dakota State, and I'm glad we did.
You like kind of playing?
Yeah, I mean,
more of those teams.
I mean, as a competitor, what more do you want? Like, you want to go play the #1 team in the country that's won a back-to-back national championships. Like, what else? What are we talking about? We're not going to run from that at UIW. That's not what we do. That's not who we are.
Would you rather play higher teams in the FCS, or like you said, maybe go to a Rice, or I know UTSA is on the schedule for next year.
Yeah,
too.
I think both have their benefits. I mean, either way, I'll take either one.
And then I'll give you the floor one final time to speak to our crowd here at the Winchester Pub and live on YouTube just about this matchup coming to Benson Stadium this week.
Yeah, first and foremost, I just appreciate you guys coming out week in and week out. Two guys that taught me in the business school. Dr. Jay's here. Some of my staff is here. Guys that do a lot of work behind the scenes and the support behind the scenes. So really appreciate you guys. Our guys love it too. So, but we're going to control our controllables. These guys work their tails off. Our student athletes work their butts off. I think Zach Calzada's in the facility right now finishing up his final capstone presentation so he can graduate with his MBA in December. So these guys work their tails off, not just in the classroom, but in preparation to put their best foot forward and represent this university. And I'm proud to lead those guys. And we're going to put a product on the field, Saturday, that you're proud of.
Well, Coach, thank you very much for your time. We thank the Winchester Pub for hosting us here. We thank Silver Eagle Beverages, one of our sponsors, as well as Las Palapas and Jersey Mike's. Again, thank you, everyone, here at the Winchester Pub, live on YouTube. The game this Saturday, October 19th, 4 p.m., streamed on ESPN+. Carl Schoening, myself, and Blair Villarreal will be on the call. It will be Military Appreciation Day, so free admission to all active duty, retired military, and veterans. More information on UIWathletics.com. One final time, this is the UIW Coaches Show with Clint Killow. We will see y'all at Ben